Good. I'm starting.
We're ready? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right, good afternoon, almost evening. We will call this meeting to order at 5:03. And I will read the land acknowledgement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples. Altadena is located on the stolen homelands of the Ha'amonga tribal band. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tongva is referred to as Tabongar, which includes the areas currently known as Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as the 4 Southern Channel Islands. Entities such as the U.S. government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tongva peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural and linguistic erasure. Altadena Library commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich histories, vibrant communities, and culture of the Gabrielino Tongva people, present and past, through our collection, development, resources, and program offerings. Okay. I will now do a roll call. Trustee Lim.
Here.
Trustee Andrew.
Here.
Trustee Clark here, and I am here as well. Thank you. Is there any reordering of any agenda items that needs to happen?
Yes, I have a request to move up to the support group, agenda item to agenda item, sorry. Yes, to 2D.
So moving 6A to 2D,
No.
is it 6?
6A. I, or 1. Cause you're here.
Oh, 6
Just
to
on the- You're here for both. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, 6A
2D,
2D.
okay. Is there any discussion or disagreement? About that, okay. All right, so we will reorder that, and then can we then get an approval, a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. All in favor? Okay, so the agenda has been approved with a slight reordering for the support groups, okay? Alrighty, is there any public comment on non-agenda items?
No public comment.
Okay, thank you. Then we have the consent calendar.
Nope, now we're gonna,
Oh, sorry, thank you. We are going to have reports from the support groups. Forgot to set that.
Well, good afternoon, nice board of trustees of the Altadena Library District. My name is Mark Mariscal. I'm here going to speak on both the Altadena Library Foundation and then as president, and then on behalf of Tom Ruffner, who is the president of the Friends of the Altadena Library. So I'll start off with the Friends. I'm sure maybe in the director's report, but in the publicity that the library's put out, the Friends are having a book sale on April 12th and 13th. And so for those people watching at home or gonna watch this later on before April 12th or 13th, we look forward to seeing you at the Bob Lucas Library on the 12th starting at 10 o'clock and on Saturday also starting at 10 o'clock. And then probably the biggest news from the Friends point of view is we're getting ready for our annual membership meeting. And so that's on Tuesday, the first Tuesday, which I believe is June 4th. But prior to that, we will have then again our last book sale for this, what we call your fiscal year, and our fiscal year, which is of course May 18th and 19th. So we all look forward to that. I'm going to switch now to the Altadena Library Foundation, but jointly speaking on both, I want you to know that both the Foundation Board and the Friends Board is very happy to know that we're going to be having a groundbreaking soon on the Bob Lucas Memorial Library. It's been a long time coming. The Friends and the Foundation have been big supporters of moving these projects along. As we know that over the years, the per parcel tax that started maybe 20 plus years ago really was a movement from the Friends group the Friends of the Altadena Library. Since then, many community members over the years have participated with the proposals every year up until we just then passed Measure Z in 2020. And so both organizations, I can say with sincerity, is so happy to know that those construction dollars that now have been allocated and started to move, first with Bob Lucas and then next year with the main branch, we're just happy to see that project go as we continue to raise monies for a lot of different things. And so, you know, these organizations have been supporting this library. It's been 65 years for the Friends and 15 years for the Library Foundation. Now, just on the Library Foundation itself, I will say that we announced at the, I think at the last meeting, but we've publicly now stated that our Taste of Dina event that we had about 6 of them. We did not have one last year, but we're bringing one back on the last Saturday in September, September 28th. So we do invite the public, especially those of you watching here, to consider putting that date on your calendar already. We'll be sending out save the date cards for that. That'll be an early evening program here in the parking lot of the library. And from there, the Library Foundation, just like the Friends, we're just being good ambassadors of telling the story as the trustees do when they're out at community events. We will be at the sheriff's station on that Saturday, I believe it's May 4th, when they have a community meeting or a community open house. We will be, and hopefully the library is having their Altadena Connections or having the band at the Altadena Guild event that is on Sunday, May 5th. And so the Altadena Library Foundation would love to have the table adjacent to you so that we can share what it is the Library Foundation is doing as we go into the naming opportunities and the other opportunities for long-term funding for our contributions to the library district for programs in perpetuity, meaning an endowment and all those other things. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions for the Library Foundation or the Friends.
Are there any questions for the foundation or the Friends? Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, now we will move on to the consent calendar. Are there anything that need to be removed, or can we get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move we approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. Then we will move to item 5, department updates and special presentations. We'll have a presentation on early literacy.
Alan, do you have it?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sophia Araya. I'm the Youth and Family Services Manager, and I'm very excited to be here this afternoon to present all the early literacy updates. I'm especially excited because early literacy is a passion of mine as a previous early literacy librarian, as a mom to 2 little ones, and this has been one of my goals in this position. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just an overview of everything that I'll be presenting today. I'll be mentioning the early literacy corner quite a bit, which is this location here in the children's room of the library. This is where most of our resources for early literacy are now found. I'll be going over the grade level book list, early learning calendars, the new parenting shelf, many new kits and library of things materials specifically for children. discuss everything that occurred at our 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten relaunch, which was a great success, and give updates on the Stay and Play grant as well. Next slide, please. So Youth and Family Services staff have created grade level book lists for preschool all the way to 8th grade. These are displayed in our early literacy corner in the children's room of the library. Patrons have enjoyed seeing a list of diverse books that are geared towards specific age levels. These lists can be used for outreach and school visits, and they're also found on the website in the children's page of our website. We plan to update these lists yearly, and it really was a team effort from all of Youth and Family Services staff by getting the list together, making sure that they're diverse books of different genres, formats, and subjects, and also in creating the design. So I have these available. I'll display different materials that I'm talking about after our presentation here in this room so that you can view everything if you'd like. So I'll have examples of these. Next is the literacy calendar. So these calendars are provided by the Public Library Association. We purchase these documents that can be edited, and every month YFS staff edit them specifically for our YFS programs. But every day of the calendar here has a specific early learning tip. So we really encourage families to take these home with them after story times or any of our early learning programs. And they're also displayed in the early literacy corner. They're both in English and in Spanish. And we've gotten positive feedback from families that have visited and picked them up, and they're very encouraged to complete these different tips at home. Next slide, please. So we recently pulled aside parenting books from the adult nonfiction collection, and we've created a space for them in our early literacy corner. These books are for parents and caregivers for children up to teens. The books have parenting topics to help raise children. We've allocated more funds for this collection for this year, and due to its new location, parents and caregivers are able to easily browse this section of the library while their kids are either playing in the children's room or using the computer or browsing for books themselves. So this is now found in the early literacy corner, and it's been quite a browsing area for parents. So I'm very happy with this change to our collection. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to talk about all of the new book kits and Library of Things materials. We have had Read With Me kits for a while now. These are bags of books with specific themes listed here, such as alphabets, colors, and shapes. They come in either English, French, or Spanish. But now we're expanding our amount of kits. And recently, as of a couple months ago, we have added early equity kits. These were provided to us from the Growing Together Pasadena partnership, and they are all DEI themed kits with books and tips for caregivers and families to discuss these themes. So some of the themes include making a difference, happy Black families, happy Latino families, body positivity, celebrating Asian, Native American, and Muslim heritage, and gender expression, just to name a few. We have a total of 16 kits available, and they're also very popular. They're usually not even on our shelves. They're always being checked out. Next slide, please. So I'm happy to share a sneak peek into new additions to our Read With Me kits. YFS staff are in the process of creating new book themes. All of our book kits are very popular, so adding more to the collection really helps families who are looking for specific themes or ideas to talk about with their children based on certain picture books. So the 3 new types of kits that we will have available are the Conscious Family kits, Stepping Stone kits, and Storytime in a Bag. And I'll discuss all of these in the next slides. For our Read With Me kits, we're expanding to different topics. So now we will have weather and seasons, community helpers, music, monsters, rhyming, and grandparents as well. So these will all be added within the next month or so to our collection. Next slide, please. The Conscious Family Kit is a new themed kit series for grown-ups to talk to their children about difficult topics. These include race and anti-racism, loss and death, consent, mental health, and they all come with books, contain tips for the caregivers and an activity as well. Next slide. The Stepping Stones Kit is a new themed kit for grown-ups as their children reach certain milestones. So the themes that we are currently building are potty training, baby sign language, starting school or going back to school, and high contrast books for infants specifically. And these also include the books along with tips for caregivers. Next slide. Story Time in a Bag is a new theme kit that is exactly what it's called, a story time in a bag minus the librarian. So we have different themed kits that include outer space, vehicles, bugs, dinosaurs, rocks and minerals, lions, food, my body. And all of these come with a story time plan. These include theme songs, rhymes, and egg shakers. So basically, if a family is not able to attend our story time, they have an entire plan that they could do at home with their children. Next slide, please. I'm very excited to share several new different kits that we have specific to the Library of Things collection. So I discussed the Storytime kits already, but we've also recently added literacy kits, Love Every Kids, and Yodo players. Our literacy kits are, as seen in this picture, with the clear bag with blue. They come with different games and activities and books for children that are learning how to read. So these themes include sight words, vowels, phonics, and these are also very popular. They come with different activities that are usually pretty expensive, purchased through Lakeshore or other early learning organizations, and they've been very popular with our families as well. Our Yodo players has a little white box here, and that's an audio device that connects to different cards that have story time. So they're really perfect for bedtime. They've been very popular, and they also come in English, Spanish, and French as well. And lastly, I'll be discussing our Love Every kits on the next slide. So Love Every kits have developmentally appropriate toys based on a child's age level. The toys are durable and made from organic and sustainable materials. They include unique toys for a specific age level and include a book and a play guide that explain the why and how for each of the toys that come within these kits. These kits are usually only available through a pricey subscription service, so it's very excited that we can provide these for free to our community. And we received these kits through our partnership with Growing Together Pasadena, and they have been quite a hit with our community as well. We still have a few more that are currently being processed, but will be out within the next week or so. And these are some examples of the kits that are here. As you can see, they're for very specific age levels, months 46, 47, 48. This one's for month 16, 17, and 18, and the top one is for 0 to 12 weeks old. So the toys are very specific and geared for that age level. So I also have an example that I'll have here after the presentation as well. So we're very excited for our Love Every Kids. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I'll jump over to talk about our updates to our early literacy programs. 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten has been relaunched as of March 2nd. This is an ongoing Beanstalk challenge that ALD has had for a while now. And basically it's to encourage caregivers to read 1,000 books to their children before they start kindergarten. And along the way, they'll have different incentives along with a registration prize and an ending prize for completing the challenge. We have updated all the documents, have purchased new prizes, and have revamped the Beanstalk graphics. We had a launch party on March 2nd, a day filled with events at every hour. We had families that arrived at 10 a.m. and stayed till the last minute at 4 p.m. So it was a very exciting time. Here's an image of families registering at the children's desk, but we had many things going on that day. Bilingual story time, Curious George visited us throughout the day. We had a face painter and curiosity play hour as well. The first 100 children received a puppet and a book along with the registration prize. So we had 83 children that registered this day, and we also had about 20 other families that came in who have already registered previously but were there to pick up a new bag and pick up their prizes as well. So it was a very successful event. Next slide, please. So this just goes over the different changes that we have to the program. Here is an updated document with the new prizes. I brought an example as well of the registration bag. It comes with a folder, so they can either track on the folder or they could track through Beanstalk, depending on the preference of the family. We have a treasure box that's found at the children's desk, and for every 100 books that they read, they can go through the treasure box and find new prizes. Previously, the only prize was stickers, but now we have specific incentives for little ones geared towards ages 0 to 5, including early learning flashcards, workbooks, board books and picture books, and then some other fun things like cute stuffies, bubbles, what else? Play-Doh, and other sensory toys as well. So when little ones come in, they can go through that treasure box and find something that suits them. And we also updated the look to all the documents as seen here on the image. Next slide. So this here is Curious George on our event, our relaunch party. It was a lot of fun. We got a lot of great pictures throughout the day, and families were very excited to see them. Slide. Okay, lastly, I will go over all the updates to the Stay and Play grant that we received in autumn of 2023. We originally received $4,500, but they did have some extra funds, so we ended up with $5,124.97 awarded by Khalifa. These funds are used for Stay and Play early literacy programs. As part of the grant requirements, staff had to participate in early literacy trainings, which include foundations of early literacy, family service, partners and outreach, strengths-based family engagement, Brazelton Touchpoint training, and a reimagining school readiness workshop. The first 3 trainings here listed were actually courses that took several weeks, and staff had to participate for several hours per week. So it was a very hefty training. A lot of what they've learned we're using for our new upcoming early literacy programs, and it was a really great way for staff to be more familiar with early literacy research, along with suggestions on how to improve our services. We have also begun purchasing new early learning toys with the grant money awarded, and we'll begin rotating. We've started actually to rotate the toys already monthly at the children's room. So there's new toys every month for children to be able to play with. And we have a lot of new toys that we're taking out during our programs, including story time, where we've extended time after story time for children to play and socialize together. We also have a monthly weekend program, Curiosity Play Hour, where we take out all the toys and caregivers and children are encouraged to socialize. And in May, we will have a Stay and Play outdoor session where we're partnering with Eden Canyon to come and do a presentation for the caregivers. Next slide, please. That ends my presentation on early literacy updates, and I hope that you're all as excited as we are for our new resources for families. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah.
First, thanks, Sophie, for that presentation and your good work in that department. It really looks like it's coming along. And one of the things I remember from the last time this was presented was that 1,000 books includes reread of the same book too, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and I always thought that was important because when I was a kid, I used to like the same thing over and over
It's
again.
So 1,000 books, but it can be the same book read 1,000 times. So there's some books I've memorized completely that I've read to my kids, so.
Yeah, the other thing I wondered about is how, one area, I'm illiterate, literally illiterate in one area, and that's computers many times. Are you starting to teach computers and different levels to kids at this age too?
Are we, are you saying as staff? Currently we are not, no, but we are helping the children as they have questions up at the children's room, but we don't have any specific courses. Right
Okay.
now. Yes.
So all this is amazing and really exciting. And I appreciated reading in the staff report a little bit about some of the outreach that you guys are doing, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how you're getting the word out to parents and to families so that they know that some of these are resources.
So before our relaunch, we did create outreach bags specifically for ages 0 to 5, and we visited several of the daycares and preschools, including Families Forward Learning Center, Oaknell Montessori, and Rayuela School as well. It was also on the mailer, I believe, the recent mailer. It was sent out to Altadena community, specifically talking about our relaunch, but we're planning to create more of these outreach kits so that whenever we go to different outreach events throughout the community, we'll have these kits that include a QR code on how to register to this program and a specific flyer that shows all of our early literacy services, including like our website, where they will be able to find more information.
That's awesome.
Yeah. trying to get the word out as best we can.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can I ask one more
Of
question?
course.
What is this is just out of pure curiosity. What is the protocol that you have for like cleaning stuff as it comes back in? Because it's been in everybody's mouth, right? Like, so how does that
Good
work?
question.
Yeah, that is a great question. It's something we think about for sure, because it's all over.
Immediately.
Yes, we do have during our early literacy programs, we have buckets that are labeled, like extra cleaning or bit in the mouth. So when we notice that, or we ask the community members to put them into this bucket, those get special cleaning. But after each program, we do clean every single item. We have the spray and the wipes and gloves for staff. At the end of the night, we do have a checklist where staff check off once they've cleaned up all the toys. So if they're not able to get to it at nighttime, we'll get to it in the morning.
Hmm.
So every day we do it.
Smart.
And then the kits too, when they come
Yeah.
back
Yeah,
in,
we're
that
gonna
you
have to do that
disinfect
as well.
them.
Yes, some of them are easy, some of them are cloth related things, so they might have to get washed every once in a while, but for sure the toys that can be wiped down. Won't be this.
Cool.
Good question. Thank you.
Yes.
And I just want to clarify my remark. I'm not computer literate. You feel that way sometimes and realize the benefit of an early start on that.
Now, we have gotten certain requests on typing classes recently. A couple people have asked about it. Something to think about.
That would be cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sophia. Okay. The department update reports. Were there any questions or comments from trustees?
Well, I just wanted to say, as always, it's really exciting to see not just how many programs, but the huge diversity of programs that we have every month. It's incredible. I don't know. I talk to people at a lot of different libraries and I don't think this is cool. Like there's just a huge array of things you can choose from. There's a huge series of age levels and groups we're serving. So just keep it up, man. This is amazing.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing. The programs, the diversity in the number is just amazing. And then the attendance follows.
Mhm.
We're getting a lot of people going to these things. So
Right, Terry.
all of that stuff, making people, having people show, especially young people, to programs that we produce. That is the pathway that we want for all the patrons, because that kind of makes it a repeat experience for kids and their parents and so on. So I'm always happy to see all the people and the pictures that you're putting.
I would also add, it's gonna sound odd, but at least in the past, I would say 2 weeks, maybe 4 people have come up to me saying like, oh, I saw your picture at the library. I love that library. Like, that's such an amazing library, and have like all these really great things to say about, the programming. And, one parent who's like, at least twice a week after school, we stop in the library and we do X, Y, and Z. So the impact is really felt by the community, and I just wanted to share that. Okay, then we shall move on. If there are no other questions or comments, we are skipping the support group reports and going to administrative updates.
All right, thank you. Good evening, trustees, staff, and members of the public. I'm sure there's lots watching online. I will say this library system, I've never seen such great attendance at programming, and I do think like it's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Wide variety, but like people love the programs up here.
Yeah.
Which I think is like this loop that works really well, because if people come, then it's inspiring to want to keep programming. When you plan a program and nobody shows up, so I appreciate that the community shows us lots of love with attendance too. Okay, so administrative updates. We did get the bittersweet news that our part-time library clerk, Shawnee Downing's last day with us was actually last Saturday. When I first wrote this, I hadn't updated that her last day would be the 23rd, because she took vacation this week, so it just worked out that way. Shawnee was our first library clerk we hired specific to outreach and programming support. And I think Ashley calculated she did over 50 events in the last year, so very successful having her in that role. We're sad to see her go, but she had another job and just got to be a lot, so we wish her well. I did not update this, I noticed after I sat down tonight, about the facilities manager recruitment, we're continuing to recruit. Unfortunately, we were not able to select a candidate in our first round of applications and interviews. We had an external panel and then another round. So we have reposted it. Please spread the word. We put it in a couple different places. We seem to have more applicants coming in. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to do our next round of interviewing and recruiting, and I'll be sharing a successful candidate. So just wanted to give you an update on that. So in terms of marketing, this past month, we posted a video about the history of the Bob Lucas Library. In coordination with the facilities committee, Bryn, Katie, and I are working on a campaign around communicating about the building projects. We want to make sure the community feels informed about what's coming to the best of our ability. So that was released. You can check it out on our YouTube page. It has gotten thousands of views, which is wonderful. We just got the latest draft of the next video today, Katie and I did, which is gonna highlight the Bob Lucas Library renovations, the inspiring artwork by Kenny Arts, which you can see in the back of the room, as well as other details around the groundbreaking and what's coming up. So that will probably release within the next couple days. And then thank you to Bryn. She also created design boards for both the main project and the Bob Lucas project that are up in both libraries and out in the Curiosity Connection, and one sheets that we can hand out. So trying to spread the word as much as we possibly can. As you know, we have the next chapter page on the website. So if people have questions, please refer them to there. We do try to keep it updated with everything that's happening. And of late, that's been more things.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. We also have National Library Week coming up. That's going to be April 7th through the 13th. And Bryn worked with the Public Services team and Ashley to create a trifold brochure highlighting all of the programs planned by the library staff. So please grab one of those while you're here today. Let's see what else. They have also shared several of the May events and June 1st summer reading kickoff with the Altadena Neighbors magazine, trying to get the word out about summer reading, which is right around the corner. Altadena Neighbors, the deadline is a month and a half ahead. So we were trying to get some information out to them so they could spread the word on that. There is a plan to create, I don't know if you remember the magazine from last summer reading program. They're in the process right now of already drafting that. So excited to have that wonderfully produced magazine for this coming summer as well. So talking about a little bit of events, our wonderful Library Foundation Support Group had their first event of 2024 on March 1st. Thank you to all the trustees that were able to join us. I think Mark said there were close to 60 people. I just felt like so much love in that house for the work of the library and the work of the foundation. So hopefully we'll watch our foundation continue to build off of that. Katie is our liaison this year, so I know she'll assist them in continuing to spread the word, but like, that was such a positive event. Lots of people sing our praises. Not sure what's going on up there. So with our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, Ashley sits on their board and helped facilitate a program with Dr. Sylvia Gates Carlisle a couple weeks ago, and she did a presentation on Alzheimer's. They're doing a monthly Zoom series. So the next one will be on April 11th, so be on the lookout for that. You can attend those on Zoom. I also, as I mentioned, attended the Pasadena Literary Alliance Festival of Women Authors. That's held once a year. Highly recommended if you can ever attend in the future. You get to meet and talk to all of the authors that they feature. And thanks to Catalina and our former foundation president for joining me. Ashley's been busy out in the community as usual. She went to Jackson Elementary School and attended the African American Parent Council's hosting of Chocolate Storytime in celebration of Black History Month. Ashley read books to 2 classrooms and was able to meet members of the African American Parent Council to connect with them. So again, creating another connection and relationship in the community. Sophia also attended with her, so thank you for both going. In addition to that, Ashley again put on her Dr. Seuss hat and through our membership with the Rotary, joined other Rotarians to read for Read Across America at the Families Forward Learning Center 2 weeks ago, probably, something like that. So thank you for doing that again for us. I'm also really excited, as it was highlighted under Look Who's Using the Community Room. We've established a partnership with a local business nonprofit called Petite Library, where they've identified volunteers to come in and offer story time for us in languages that we currently aren't offering. So they'll be in Arabic, Korean, and French. And in addition to that, we'll use the community room to help rehearse and other programming efforts that they have. So what a great partnership that, again, is like offering even more programs for the community. So, I'm happy to share that my Arizona Wildcats won both games this past weekend. So don't worry, I'm in a really good mood this week. Ashley told the staff this would be the week to ask me for things that they want, probably.
It's working out.
I also wanted to give kudos and thanks to the wonderful Youth and Family Services staff, and Sophia for their amazing early literacy launch that took place on March 2nd. I was not able to go, but I heard it was very highly attended and everything they possibly could have handed out was taken. Thanks to Ashley for bringing her son Austin, my little best friend, and her sister and 2-year-old niece Haley. Love the pictures, so thanks for sharing those. I'm also glad to hear you finally got to Santa Monica
Finally.
after 5 years.
So I'm official now.
I was like, what? Okay. I did want to remind everyone to check out the programming page or the events page on the website. As you see through the reports you get every month, there's lots of things coming up. For example, one of our concluding programs for the Poets Laureate program is taking place on Sunday, April 7th. That's going to be at Zorthian Ranch at 4 o'clock. Their concluding program, which I'll talk about next month probably, is Poetry and Cookies. That'll be, I think, on the 27th of April, so right after the next board meeting. But I am excited to share that they did select 2 new poets, which they're gonna announce at their event on April 7th. So I won't ruin their surprise. It will be the plan to have you formally appoint them again, like we did the last time around too. So we'll bring those back to the board. I did want to do another pitch about our upcoming Rob Lucas groundbreaking event, which is taking place next month on Thursday, April 18th at 10 a.m. I'm working with a group of staff to plan a really great time for everybody that attends. Also, as I mentioned, please check out the beautiful paintings that we got from Kenny Art in the back of the room, which we are framing just temporarily so we can have them at the groundbreaking. But then once we figure out where they're gonna go, we'll get them like nicely framed. But I think that's it for me. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Nikki? I did get to come to the 1,000 books. I came a little bit later, the small baby and I, we did get to take a picture with Curious George. And it was really cool, so thank you.
Is that like a service you can get, Curious George, and sign up for it?
It's a costume you can rent.
From the Library of Things.
Some teenagers that you like bribe with food to put it on.
Contracted on calls.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. See, then, if there are no further questions, we'll move to financial reports.
And we have Christy with us.
Hello,
Hey.
Christy.
Good evening. Let's see. You can see me. There we go. Yes. Okay, last month we did spend some time going over the budget, adjusting to it. So when you see the financials this month, a lot of The accounts have already been adjusted, and so we're right in line with target. So I'll just mention a couple of those that are a little off and give you some reasoning for those. Okay, so for revenues, everything's in line. Grant reimbursements are only recorded quarterly. So when those are recorded, you should be in line there. The other revenue line is a little bit behind, and that has to do with the E-rate reimbursements. And as soon as we've got those covered, that line will be in sync as well. Wages are right in line, a little bit over, has to do with an employee that was paid out for some vacation, but that will again balance itself out by year end. All of your benefits are in line with the exception of the workers' compensation line being over just a little bit. And that has to do with an audit that is done every year, and it came in after we had adjusted the budget. So you're over just a few $100s there. The next line, line 21, for the discretionary payment, we will be talking about next month when we bring, or in the next 2 months when we bring the FY25 budget to you, so that you can see where you're at if you want to move any money for this year end and how that plays into next year's budget. So we will be discussing that one. Operating expenses, insurance is all paid up, so that's what you're going to be for the rest of the year. Most of the other lines are in line except for your collection fees. We just need to reallocate some of that. You do pay fees for your special assessments, tax assessments, and we just need to do an allocation. We usually don't do that till about year end to allocate some of that away, and then you'll be fine in that line as well. Structures and improvements, you're going to see a small amount there because of the roof repair, but it came in pretty low. So that line is always just there as a placeholder. But you will see something there next month. Next category, professional services. Again, mostly in line. Legal fees are a little bit under, but you will see below that we've got some legal fees for building that are separated out. IT services, again, that E-rate that we talk about, the internet service, we have not received billing for the last 2 quarters. They're quite a bit behind. That'll catch up by year end. They are have a new administrator, so we're trying to figure out that whole process yet, but nothing to worry about there. That line will be fine. Library materials. The only line that sticks out, really, most of them have to do with timing of purchases. Periodicals. I believe something was just renewed in February, and we need to move some of that to prepaid. That wasn't caught before this was sent out. I think I have a question back to staff because something was just renewed, and I think part of that belongs into next year. So I think that will fall in line next month when you see this. Programming, again, most things are in line. If they're over or under, it's just due to timing. Looks like literacy services, there's a grant that funds the majority of that. So some of that will come in at year end, but otherwise in this category, things are mostly in line as well. Legal fees, I know we just added this line at amended budget time, but we forget how much legal fees are, I think. And I don't know, Nikki wants to speak to that a little more, but I think we're going to end closer to the $40,000 mark. And then we'll put in a little bit higher budget for next year. We decided, the board had decided to move those out of bond proceeds and pay from general fund. We just underestimated what those bills were going to come in at. Any questions for general fund? Yes.
Christy,
Kate.
can I ask you that question?
Sure.
Just to help me remember, because now we've got so many different pages of budget statements. Our budget to actual report, this first piece includes everything, right? Even if it's being paid for with grant money, even if it's being paid for by support groups or whatever, it's in here or no?
No, this is just general fund. We do not show a combined one anymore.
Okay, I guess here's my question. Like, if I wanted to figure out like, what is our total expenditure, on programming or our total expenditure on collections or whatever, like we don't have that anywhere. It's all kind of parceled out based on what revenue stream pays for it. Is that right?
You are correct, but I do think that I think that's not a bad idea to just add a summary page. At one time, we tried doing a report that showed it across the board, and it got to be it was difficult. It was hard to read, and we couldn't see it. But I think a summary by categories is a good suggestion, Katie. I think that would
Yeah.
be helpful.
It would help me a lot because I would like to know, like, what is our bottom line number for
Mhm.
materials? What is our bottom line number for programs? And I could do the math, but I have low confidence in my ability to get it right.
No, I think that's a great idea. We'll add that for this next quarter.
Thank you.
We are still projecting, I know at this point in time, line 74 is showing that you would be adding $1.4 million to the reserve. That is simply because property tax money revenue has been received or allocated in advance of all your spending. But what we really think you'll come in at the end of the year is being able to add $100,000 to the reserve. And that's if you agree and continue to fund, make that additional payment for the UAL, for the CalPERS. So without that CalPERS payment, you'd actually have about $325,000 remaining. Okay, so let's go through the grants a little bit. I did hear some good news tonight when we get to the stay and play line. I heard that the funding came in above 4,500. I don't think we knew that at the time, so you'll see that adjustment next month. But the majority of funds have been received. I believe the lunch at the library grant is something that you have to submit to get those funds. So they will have started or will start spending that money, and then we will receive those funds later in the year. I've also understood, as going through the budget process with Ashley, that that grant is going to go a little bit over into FY25. So what we'll probably do at year end is defer some of that so that it can cover next year's expenses, the early part of the year. But I think she's thought about 70% this year, 30% of that next year. The expenses are below, and again, most of the lines are trending along budget. It's timing. Some of these things do not occur until later in the year, and that's when you're going to see all of your grant funds spent. The goal is always to spend everything grant related by the end of the year. It's just some of these programs are just starting to the things that they have promoted to those granting agencies are just starting to take place. Any questions about the grant report? Okay. The next one is your capital. And in terms of capital, you know, interest is coming in right on schedule because we had bumped that budget up to account for the increase in returns this year. Project management costs, which is where the majority of money is being spent, is a little bit below budget there. And then we've estimated or we've allocated the expenses to Bob Lucas and the main library so that based on what they're doing, what the project management is, it's allocated based on how big of the projects are, because at this point in time, that part of it has been split between the two. As this grows, you're going to start to see more construction costs and things toward Bob Lucas and less toward main library. So we'll probably see a little bit of a flip there as we get closer to that project. And at this point in time, we're just showing you how much of the reserves we're using or not using. So we're projecting to use 1.5 million. At this point in time, it's only about 300,000. The building projects, this is where it gets into a little more detail. We've broken this out now, the direct renovation costs, to tie to the schedule that Jennifer provides. So you can see your project management. And again, this is by fiscal year. The totals are in the right-hand column. How much has been spent on plan check and permit fees versus studies versus architect and design. And then there were some legal fee, or excuse me, the legal fees that are on here are for all different revenue sources. So actually, let me go back to the top. That's a change. You're seeing the bond proceeds, the grant proceeds, and any funding from general fund for the building project. So as I get down here to legal fees, in the beginning, they were paid from the bond proceeds, but you can see above on line 4 that now general fund is kicking in for those. So we've got 3 different funding sources giving you this huge project where we're saying we've got 26 million ending in that, 22 of that being in the bond proceeds, and the other 3.8 being in the grant proceeds. Any questions on this schedule?
So in this one,
Mhm.
isn't the grant now the larger number, or are you updating that in the next quarter? Now that it's been
We only get half the money up front,
upfront.
so we don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Until it's-
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Correct. We've only shown what you've got here. But when that is received, I think that one will become a reimbursable. This one was advanced. That one would be reimbursed as those expenses occur.
Got it.
We could always footnote that too, that there is an eligible grant. That's a footnote that could be added here, just so there's no confusion for people who've heard about that larger number and aren't seeing it. So that's a note I
That's-
can make as well.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, I will make note to do that. That's a good point. Okay, the last schedule is your balance sheet, just to show you where everything sits right now. Your cash and investments, you can see what's held at the county. We did withdraw some funds in March. As soon as we get those reimbursements, within a couple of weeks, Nikki is pulling that money out and moving it to class because there's earning a little bit higher interest there. So there's money in class for general fund. We've also got the grant money that's where that's invested, and then some additional capital funds that are invested there. You can see a small fair market value adjustment. We don't adjust that except for at year end, so that's slight. And then other assets. We've got a little bit of prepaid and
Christie.
oh yes, I'm sorry. Was there a question?
So I will point out while we're up in assets, another option we may have when we talk about budget prep for next year is it's easy for me to create sub-accounts in class. So we can create a separate sub-account for unfunded accrued liability. So you can see it, it's gonna grow at the same rate, whether it sits in the bigger pot or not, but then it's a separate line, which will probably be the recommendation, because again, it is making more money in class than paying down with CalPERS.
So we'd basically just restrict it on the,
And it's
Restricted on
not
paper.
technically restricted,
okay,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
but it would
it's a
show up
software,
and
yeah.
you'd see the change in that line by having it sit there gaining 5.5% to 6% per month,
I'd rather have it make money there than
you know?
lose money.
But we could have a separate
Great.
line as well.
That's
That
good
would
to
make
know.
sense.
Yes, and we'll have a comparison of what they're earning before the board makes the move to do that. But yes, I would agree, Nikki. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so some other current, just receivables, they're of the property tax, even though they've assessed them, we receive those over time. So by the end of the year, the majority of that is received. Long-term assets, we don't touch our fixed assets or our deferred outflows. Those are not adjusted until year end. But there hasn't been a lot of change there other than the construction in progress, of course, on the building fund that will keep up. And that updates a little bit at year end. Liabilities, again, nothing major. You've got your accounts payable, credit card payable. You've got some deferred revenue, which is the unspent grant funds. So we always keep that line in there. Even though you've received it in advance, you haven't earned all of that. So that's deferred. And then your long-term liabilities, these are not adjusted until year end. And again, they mostly have to do with your pension, your obligations after retirement. And then, of course, the big one is the amount of the bond fund payable, that the bond proceeds that have not yet been spent. And then your fund balance, you can see that you're at the 2.4 plus your revenue and expense for the year brings you to 4.6. And then it's always a reminder, I think Nikki includes it in her staff report, that you have a target reserve of half of your general fund expense budget, which is around 2.3 million, and you have unrestricted funds of 4.6. So doing very well there. Any questions?
Sorry, I
Yes.
have a lot of questions
No,
today.
great.
Can you explain to me what deferred inflows and outflows of resources are?
I can
I don't
sure
know.
try.
Okay.
Yes.
I would love to know.
Yes, so it's every year we get an actuarial report based on how many people they believe will be eligible to retire, how many active participants there are, how many people, what their ages are. They look at the earnings. There's a number of assumptions that go into it. And they do a large valuation every 2 years. They do one in between. So what happens here is it's really the net of the two. You list something in, I'm not gonna say this as well as the reports will, but the basic part is if you look at your, let me find two numbers for you to look at. So your assets show you 1.8, your liability shows you 3.7. The difference is really your obligation that you'll see. Let's see. Take that back. Did I say that right? Yeah. So down below you, yeah. So your net pension liability obligation is 3 million. And it, again, it has to do with the actuarial piece. I'm not going to say it very well. Sorry. That's a tough one. I look at the actuarial report. We get about a 30-page report. I'm welcome to show it to you, but basically it goes up and down each year based on all those other assumptions. So this year it was much better because there were earnings or people have dropped out, left the program. But basically it's your obligation. If everybody retires that they think is in the system, this is what we'll owe.
So is it like the amount that gets added that would be at this moment in time, based on the assumptions we have, that would be added to our liability, like our OPEB liability? Is that?
That is correct, although this year it did go down. It
Okay.
went down this year, so we had a reverse entry. Yes,
Okay, so it's like a measure of what we think that number that we are already obligated for, because that's like overall time.
right.
What we think based at this moment in time, that number will increase or decrease by. Is that
That is
right?
correct. Yes, you
Okay.
actually said it better than I did, Katie, so that was great. It is, there's so many assumptions.
Maybe.
I look at this every year to make sure that I understand the numbers going up and down. It's difficult to describe, but you're exactly right. They're looking out into the future to say, here's what, and based on these figures determines the amount that each institution has to pay each year. So every year you're paying about $200,000, or that's what it's been. And it's all based on those same figures. What do they think you're going to go in time, and what do we need from you today to stay on schedule with that? And then that does go up or down as those assumptions change.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Christy.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a great night.
You
You
too.
too. All right, we do not have any standing committee reports, so we'll move on to the ad hoc committee reports. And we'll start with you, Katie, the facilities committee.
Yeah, thank you. So obviously 2 RFPs coming forward from the committee tonight that we'll talk about a little bit later. But other than that, I would say pretty much everything in the report captures, I would say, what's going on at the moment. The big question mark that we have as a committee that I think we're gonna try to get, our goal is to get clarity on, within the next month or so, is basically whether or not we're gonna need to do a CUP process for Maine. So there are a couple reasons why that might need to happen. The main one being that it just predates the CUP process period, because it's older than the CUP process. So we might need one. We are talking with the county. We're trying to figure it out. There's some CEQA questions in there as well, but we are pushing really hard to get an answer on that, because if we do need to do it, we know from the Bob Lucas process that we want to start it immediately and move it as rapidly as possible. So that's I would say our biggest question mark right now, is whether or not we're going to need to do one. So hopefully we'll get an answer on that by the time we see you next month.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Katie? All right, we move on to our elections committee report. You saw a report in your package, and Jason is not here. But I can do my best to answer any questions that you all might have about our progress thus far. Okay, thank you. And then liaison reports.
Yeah, this is not a real important item, this liaison report, but article in LA Times, which you might have seen as well, where there were some cutbacks in library programs across the state because of a budget deficit that's arisen on the new budget, or the existing budget, I guess, proposed budget by Newsom. And they overestimated the revenue, and now they're trying to claw back some of that money in the form of reductions to certain programs. And one of them was this program regarding library cards being used to check out state park permits, which is kind of a big deal if you've got a family full of, you know, kids and parking and all the admissions that might go along with that. Having those items will be a lot easier on the checkbook and the pocketbook for you. So it was talking about, excuse me, this article was talking about I guess the obstacles that are places in some families trying to get to state parks across the state. There's actually 3 programs. I think 2 of the 3 are going to be kept. They have to do with passes for 4th grade classes. I'm not sure exactly what that is for, but the main one was for people that would be using it on a checkout basis the way they do here. And I went back to Nikki and asked about what that meant for us, and she said from July 2022 to July 2023, there were 129 circulations, and from July 2023 to December 2023, there were 78 circulations. So we could easily replace the passes that we might not get next year with money from, I guess, from budgeting for that item now. So it's just a little thing, but I thought it was interesting the way they couch it, how families have to struggle when little benefits like that have been taken away at their local library. Any questions on that?
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks.
You know what, I'm sorry. I should have brought up another item, and that is that another chance that we have here just became apparent through Catalina today regarding the CSDA.
Oh, yes, I was gonna bring it up under governance, but we can do it now.
Okay, no, we can do the government, that's fine.
We can do it now, yeah. So, CSDA put out a notice, to members about a, House bill that was, passed by the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. And basically, it's a federal recognition of special districts because there currently isn't any consistent definition of a special district. Doing that would make it easier for special districts to receive federal assistance. So they're hoping that when they come back from their spring break, that is something that they can put on the table for the full house to vote on. And basically, the CSDA is reaching out to special districts for them to just put their support in to kind of get our congressional leaders to, you know, see that there's a lot of support for this. So there is on their website, like a letter that they're going to send out that has a list of all these special districts that are supporting it. And then there's also a sample letter that we're actually going to put on our letterhead. And we'll have you sign that, Terry, and we'll send it in to Judy.
Yeah, my impression was we couldn't get that on this agenda because there might be an action item involved and we hadn't agendized it before. But I'm glad we can go ahead and do it.
Yeah, we can go ahead and just do that, but we wanted to bring it to the board.
It's kind of a big deal. We've been talking about this for a
Yeah.
long time. And it has ramifications, not just for us, but for institutions all across
Oh,
the
yeah.
country. So it's exciting, actually. And it's a bipartisan effort too.
It's kind of amazing.
Terry, can I ask you a real quick question? I should have probably emailed you about this, but it didn't occur to me. I got, and maybe you guys got it as well, the email from the guy who wants to be on the LAFCO board, the special districts guy,
Right?
the Palos Verde library guy. Are we voting? Did you vote? Are we voting? Or
Yeah.
is something happening there?
Yeah, so, Terry will, he'll be voting on that. I can't remember the date. I think it's like the end of April that the
Okay.
votes are going in. But yes, we'll be participating in
Okay.
that. some of the candidates will send letters or emails out, some of them don't send anything. So it just depends on the candidate and their, their strategy and how they want to reach out
Yeah,
to.
this is the one we talked about just last month, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah. mhm.
because there was one before that too.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
version of that.
Well, as a completely uninformed voter, not knowing anybody else who's running in this race, I'm excited there's a library person from a special
Mhm.
district, so.
Okay, any other questions for Carrie? All right, we will do not have any unfinished business, so we'll move into new business. The first item is a review and approval of the Bob Lucas Memorial Library and Literacy Center construction RFP recommendation. Will there be a
Yeah,
presentation?
I'll start us off. We do have, Chad with Huckabee and Kevin with Chronic, our law firm with us tonight, who can answer hopefully any questions that do arise. I'll just give a really quick overview of the process. The RFP was drafted closely by Jennifer Pearson and Chad with Huckabee, as well as Kevin from Chronic, and brought to the board for approval for construction services for the Bob Lucas project on January 22nd. The board approved, and then with us getting the conditional use permit approved the following day, we posted this RFP on BidNet, which is the site we use, on January 24th, with a closing deadline of March 4th. Prior to the deadline, as usual, the scoring team, which originally there were 6 of us that were gonna sit on the scoring team, came together, reviewed the scoring matrix, came to agreement about what that should look like. Unfortunately, March 4th hit and we received 3 proposals. We had hoped and anticipated more than that, which is why we had a conversation with Katie, our facilities committee chair, about how many of us really needed to go through the scoring process. As a result, we leaned on our experts, Jennifer, Chad, and Kevin, to review those and work on the scoring. So as you can see in the package, you can see the combined scores, which is how they came up with the recommendation. But now I'm going to turn it over to you, Chad and Kevin, to talk about how that process went and what our recommendation is.
Okay, so I participated with Jennifer in checking in on references and looking into the backgrounds and the proposals that were that we received, and it was fairly clear, as you can see in our scoring, that Monet Construction was probably the best fit for us. Not only did they come in at the lowest bid, but they also have performed very similar projects, including library projects, in the past. And so they do generally seem like a good fit, and that's who we're recommending.
Do you have anything to add?
Are there any?
No, I mean, the only thing I'll say is we met as a committee with the scoring team and we went through the whole process and we sort of, asked all the questions we need to ask. But yeah, as a committee, our recommendation concurred with the scoring team. And so we are unanimous in that decision as well.
Okay. Any questions from you all?
Well, one thing I noticed, and I don't know if I missed it on the others, is that they took pains to say how much of their in-house group was doing the work, like 80% this and 90% for other things, which I think is a good feature if they can harness their own employees to get this work done, the skilled work done. Was that just them that did it, or were there other folks that, I just missed it on the? I think it was just them. They were the only ones that offered that kind of.
Yeah,
Okay.
the other, and that wasn't something, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but that wasn't something that we required in the RFP. That was just something I think that they indicated
Yeah, they
as
threw away.
part of their bid.
But I like that. I think
Yeah.
that's an important function of that, so.
Yep.
That is correct. And also my perception was that's actually one of the tools they utilize to kind of drive down the cost of their overall proposal. So it kind of works out on both ends.
All right, well, if there are no further discussion, may we have a motion? As this calls for action from us,
I'll second.
okay, and the motion is to approve the construction, the recommendation that is made by the scoring committee
Right.
for Monet.
The motion is to authorize the director to contract with Monet up to 3.2956. Yeah, million.
And then Terry, you second,
I seconded it, yeah.
okay, and then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Guys, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Another contractor.
And you all made it very easy for us, so thank you.
Clarification,
Yeah.
so it's authorized to the amount that includes the margin, correct?
There's a 10% contingency, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and their bid came in
Agreed.
just
Yeah.
below 3 million,
Mhm.
so.
No, fantastic.
Okay. All right, moving on to item B, review and approval of the Bob Lucas Memorial Library and Literacy Center construction inspection and or soils engineering on-call services RFP.
Yeah, so again, I'll pick us off. We do have our two experts on the call, but we all, again, brought this RFP that was written and put together by both our law firm as well as our capital project managers to approve an RFP for construction inspection and or soils engineering services on-call services. Posted that on BidNet January 22nd. What was approved by you on the 22nd, posted on BidNet on January 24th with a closing deadline of February 23rd. And just as a reminder, this list is being put together so that as the need for inspections arises on the Bob Lucas project over the next year or whatever for construction, that our capital project manager and myself can authorize that work to be done in a fairly timely manner, rather than have to come back to the board every time with these various inspections that will need to be completed. So by the deadline, we received 11 proposals. The list of firms that proposed on those is in the board package. So they were reviewed carefully and scored by the team, which consisted of Jennifer Pearson and Chad Nielsen. From there, they brought to the facilities committee 5 firms that they would recommend putting on this list, which is also listed, and I'll read: Earth Systems Pacific, Benna LLC, Corey Engineering and Testing Inc., MTGL Inc., and TGR Geotechnical Inc. By the way, we didn't include it in the package because it's many, many pages, but all 5 of their proposals are on the website, on the meetings material page. If people are curious to see those 5 that were shortlisted, basically. So the recommendation is,
Whoops.
I know,
lots of text.
I did too. Can't see it.
To authorize me, as well as working with the facilities committee and our capital project management team on the CEQA consulting services as outlined. We lost a lot
Yeah,
of words
that's
in
nice.
the package for some reason,
Mhm.
but I'll stop there. Chad, Kevin, you have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add on this one, no.
Okay, so I covered that decently well. Are there any questions about this one?
So just to clarify, so any of the 5 can be chosen?
I believe so.
And how do we do that?
My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, is that let's say this one type of inspection needs to be done, they'll go out for quotes from these 5 firms. And then these firms will submit quotes, and from there we'll select one of them to perform that inspection. So it's not like it eliminates, like we just, let's go with this one this time, but we'll still see quotes from those firms. And then depending on what they come in at and our experience with them or whatever, we'll select one, but we won't have to bring that back to the board every time.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Okay, then since the recommendation is cut off, can we get a motion to authorize, okay.
You want to?
Yeah, let me read it. I'm sorry
Yes.
that I just cut off.
No problem.
It's a motion to recommend the Board of Trustees authorize the district director to contract with any of the selected firms for secret consulting services as outlined in the professional services agreement and RFP until the conclusion of both library building renovations, up to the budgeted amount of $200,000.
May we have a motion?
Before we do a motion, can I just ask a quick question?
Of course.
How come we are putting a not to exceed ceiling of 200,000 when it says we're budgeting 241 and change?
Yeah. Yes.
Wouldn't we have
I
our
would
not
think
to
it'd be the
exceed?
same.
It would be 241, right? Or 242?
Evan?
I honestly, reading that right now, think that might be a typo, but here's my recommendation, just practicality speaking wise, go with the higher number because you want to give yourself a little bit more
Yeah.
room.
Agreed.
I
So
recommend
then-
31.
Yeah, so I'll make that motion with a not to exceed cap of the budgeted amount of $241,752.
Good catch.
Yep. May we have a second?
So I have a stupid question before we proceed.
No.
Why 5 as opposed to 4 or 3 out of curiosity? Or the cutoff?
Just a good pool right there. And then some of them have both experiences, some of them have one, that kind of stuff. So it gives us
Okay.
kind of flexibility.
From the experience base, that's the recommendation because of the strength of weaknesses across the board. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll second that motion then.
Thanks.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Yes, another one.
Yep.
Yeah, we're cooking.
It's happening, Diana.
Again, thank you all, and thank you,
Thank you.
Chad and Kevin,
Yeah.
for your work on this.
Thanks, guys.
Made it very easy for us. All right, then we can move on to item C, which is review and approval of the late opening of the Altadena Main Library on 4/18. For some reason or another. There's gonna be a groundbreaking, I hear, on 4/18. Oh, do you need to speak to that or?
No, we just had hoped to allow as many staff as possible to attend the groundbreaking. So we suggest 1 o'clock so people can work lunches into all of that, and we'll be open from 1 to 6 that day.
Okay, any questions or concerns about that? All right, then maybe get a motion to approve this late opening on 4/18 for the library.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fine.
Okay, excellent. All right, then are there any items under governance? And is there any correspondence or future agenda items? Okay, then may I have a motion for us to be adjourned?
I move to adjourn.
All in favor? Excellent, we are adjourned at 6:21.